Hey folks, trying to continue on with the Wattles. For some of them, I'm not really targeting their natural habitats because we can probably get the message across or the theme across just using plants in the natural environment. There's a lot of these sort of instances where we just see Wattles in a sort of planted situation, putting on a hell of a show. This particular one here is Acacia fimbriata. This is a fringed wattle. I'm in Sutherland Shire at the Lucas Heights area. This would be another one here. And they're putting on a hell of a show this season. Late August 2025. I've got one in my garden, but it's already finished. But finished about 3 weeks ago probably, but this one's well and truly still rocking along. They're an absolutely beautiful wattle. That's why they've been so common in cultivation. They do go weedy, and this one's sort of in its natural range of habitat, but they've just been planted along road edges. We've got the Bengal bypass just up the road. That's where there's a hell of a lot of it, here in Lucas Heights, Sutherland. It just naturalises very readily, like a lot of other wattles as well. I think the natural range, it's a New South Wales, Queensland wattle. It has become weedy in Victoria. I think South Australia as well a little bit. But I think in New South Wales, you find it as south as about somewhere like Nerriga, I think. Getting down around sort of Braidwood area there. And then it sort of punches north along the coast and sort of tablelands fringes, punches north, gets into Queensland where I think it goes up the coast to about Mackay, maybe in sort of disjunct patches. And it goes out into Carnarvon National Park as well. This is one of these wattles that I rarely have seen it in its natural environment. I just haven't seen it overly commonly in its natural environment. I think it's meant to be on sort of rocky creek lines. It likes a riparian corridor, but it's more than happy to grow outside of a riparian corridor as well. So commonly cultivated, and it's just because of this beautiful show it puts on pretty reliably every year. So it's got phyllodes, Acacia fimbriata. Now these are getting a bit fat for my liking, and I'm just hoping that I'm not confusing it with something like what we call Acacia prominens. Acacia prominens or the Gosford wattle, but I hope I'm not confusing it with that. But Acacia prominens will generally have thicker, fatter phyllodes a lot of the time. They're allowed to be up to 5 mil wide, and some of those are getting a little bit, I'd say maybe just slightly wider than that, but they're up to about 5 mil, and they can be up to 8 centimetres long, although normally you see them a lot shorter. So fimbriata is known to be a variable species. It's in the phyllodes, and there's a little bit of sort of complexity noticed in the species, but I think they're allowed to be to 8 centimetres long and up to 5 mil wide. They've got one gland down at the base. I'm not going to try and capture that, but a lot of the time it's obvious. There'll be a gland. Oh, there it is there. You can even see it with the naked eye. I'm going to bring that up now. Just give us a sec. It's a really, strong conspicuous gland there down at the base. So you can see that pretty easily. And the other thing about fimbriata, is you get these hairs along the fringe of the margins, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring that up, but probably not with the phone, I won't do it justice, but you get these hairy fringed margins. You can sort of just see it there, these little sort of hairy teeth sticking out on the edge of the margin there, but that's variable. It's highly variable whether they're hairy or not. But do look for those fringes a lot of the time. This is more what I'm used to. This one here, it's sort of got the narrower phyllodes. It's probably a seedling of this one here. Slightly narrower phyllodes than the one, than its sister next to it. But The one in my garden, for example, might just depend on where they've come from. It isn't getting fire loads quite as wide as this one. It's sort of a finer foliage. So, yeah, this one might chip you up as something like Acacia prominens, perhaps, when the fire loads are getting sort of fatter. A good ID feature for people with fimbriata is the length of the inflorescences. It's not putting out the flowering structures very far from the stems. You can see generally they're nested within the leaves. So that's one of the features of it. It's got these globular heads arranged on these axes up to about 9 centimetres long, or it might be something like 7.5 centimetres long. So the flowering axes which hold the globular heads, they don't go out very far. They don't go out very far from the foliage, where some of these wattles, they'll just put out longer sprays of globular heads. I think each globular head can have about 8 to 20 flowers. Yeah, there's still a few of them in bud down in this part of the plant here. Remember, you could count those individual flowers. I think there's meant to be something like 8 to 20, something like that, 10 to 20 maybe. And that axis holding all the globular heads shouldn't be longer than about 7.5, or, yeah, you know, we might go up to 10 centimetres, but it's not going to be any longer than that. 95% of all these axes I'm looking at, they're only sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 centimetres long maybe. So it's sort of fitting well and surely within that bracket. So just, it gives the overall appearance that the flowers are sort of nestled along the stems there, going along the stems and not really extending beyond the foliage, maybe in the manner of something like Acacia decurrens, or trying to think of another phyllodeal one where you might get the sort of the flowers extending sort of out of the foliage. Maybe something like our floral emblem, Acacia pycnantha. So they're an absolute showstopper when they're in full flower. They're just absolutely beautiful. You can see them covered in honeybees and native bees as well. I think I've also seen sort of fly-like insects landing on them as well on occasion. The flower colour, it's normally pale, what we'd call that pale yellow. Not really a creamy yellow or cream, but sort of a light yellow. But it does sort of vary into a deeper yellow. It just doesn't get that really golden deep yellow colour. It's sort of if we have a spectrum again, it's sort of the lighter yellow, darker than sort of cream, and verging into sort of mid-yellow, but it's a sort of lightish yellow most of the time. It's a really nice colour. Little bit fluorescent when they're in their full prime. This one's in its full prime now, and they've probably been flowering now for about a month. The chunk is just a nice smooth chunk. There's no sort of discernible sort of fibrous bark on it we can pull off. It's very smooth. So there's just nothing there I can pull off. It's a very smooth bark. So that's a typical bark of fimbriata. Something like Floribunda has a similar bark as well. Just remember, Floribunda has the flowers in spikes. It's got flowers in spikes rather than globular heads. So that's a beautiful Acacia fimbriata. Just know they do go a bit weedy. They're happy to naturalise, but they're one of the most beautiful, easy, hardy, reliable wattles you can plant. They grow so easily. On a range of soils, you won't have too much trouble with them. You can always prune them after flowering. If you want a bit of horticultural information, you can prune them, dense it up, you'll get more flowers the following year. Just a final addition, I just did read that fimbriata can sometimes have 2 glands on the phyllodes. So they can sometimes have 2 glands. I don't think I've observed that, but there's at least 1 gland on these ones, pretty obviously, as we've seen. They're normally within 7 mils of the pulvinus, sort of distinctive petiole at the bottom of the phyllodes there. There they are. Just note, it can have two sometimes, so I'm not sure where the second gland might be, but check some phyllodes and see if you can ever see the second gland. But within 7 mils of the base most of the time.